So it's just like understanding that, hey, everything's happening now. There is no future. There is no past. It's all happening now. And we just perceive it as a future, past, present. And it's kind of like that's our limitation as a human being. So you got to take advantage of that in business, in relationships, and just pull the damn trigger.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hustle Up Podcast. My name is Clint.
I'm Jonathan.
And today we have the pleasure of sitting down again with the one and only Charbel Milan. Dude, you've been kicking ass and taking names. You've been all over the place. Tell me a little bit about, we sat down 2 years ago. We're doing webinars, real estate arbitrage, and you're still doing that, but you've also gotten into some other stuff. How has that developed? What are you up to now?
Yeah, first things first, man. I want to say thank you to both of you guys.
Yeah, man.
Because you guys were one of the first podcasts I went on when I started, like marketing on social media. You guys gave me a chance. You believed in me. So, I feel like we're just getting started still. But yeah. I really want to say that about you. I really appreciate that. I couldn't tell you how many clips I cut from that first episode,
Yeah.
After a while, I was like, damn, we might have to go back on. So now we're here and, it's a blessing. So
yes, sir.
We're glad to have you back, man. Yeah. We're excited.
You've been hustling right out of the gate. Now you had a tragedy. You had a friend die that kind of put
two of them, right?
Yeah. So when I saw you guys, I had my college roommate, best friend. He had already passed, but I had my other friend who was still battling stage 4. So,
yikes.
He left us. He's not with us anymore. But yeah, it was an interesting time. And that I think COVID was happening too.
Yeah,
it was a weird time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So all this conversation around death, around what's next, a lot of food for thought on you and how you're going to make the most out of every day. And I've paid attention to your content too. Has in a way, it's catapulted your career. Just having that sense of we're running out of time. What do you have any more development on that?
Yeah, so that's kind of like you could say that's the heartbeat for everything that I've done. Is I'm just like, hey, this is what I got right now. Let's go for it. People wait for everything to be right. And, they say if you wait for things to be perfect, you'll wait forever. But I understand, like some people are like, hey, I legitimately want to wait for, an amount of money I have coming or,
Right.
A press opportunity or whatever. But the majority of people are creating these scenarios that just to kind of push it off because they're really just scared. They're like, oh, well, when they reach out, I'll go on the podcast. When we next quarter,
Right.
It's like, just go. Like you're going to fail. You're going to lose money. You're going to make money. And I think Russ said this, or I saw this on the internet somewhere, but he was like, imagine if it could turn out greater than you could imagine. Or he was like, what if it's greater than you could even imagine or something? And it's like a lot of people don't think about it that way. Like I follow a guy named Wes Watson and he's the type of,
That's his boy.
fucking love that guy. That guy gets crazy. And the best part about him is like, he talks about that same concept where he's just like, what are you waiting for? Like go, like you're going to lose hard, but what if you win big? Like no one's thinking about that. Everyone's thinking about the loss.
Yeah.
So I've just incorporated that to everything I've done, whether that's Airbnb, whether that's, this business me and Dooley started a year ago, wholesaling, whether that's teaching people online. It's like, hey, I might not be the biggest guy in the space. We might not be the biggest wholesaling company. We might not this, that, or that. But that's not going to stop me from trying to put a message out there, put a product out there, help change someone's life. I mean, I just think that we live in a day and age where everything, like when it gets received, is so polished and manicured to like portray a certain message, depending on what side you're on for whatever subject. And it's just like we're missing that raw form content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, a hangout after an event. We're just like, yo, what's really going on? It's like, yeah, well, we lost 15%, but then we ended up doing 25. And then it's like people are missing the juice, man. Like there's just so much, like people get caught up in the headlines, the numbers, the show up rate, what was the conversion? What was the, people are missing the point that, hey, sometimes you just got to run the play. So that's that concept of, hey, I might not have woke up this morning to get the call to come on the podcast. That, maybe the next time you guys reach back out, I might be dead. Maybe I'll be in who even knows where. So it's just like understanding that, hey, everything's happening now. There is no future. There is no past. It's all happening now. And we just perceive it as a future, past, present. And it's kind of like that's our limitation as a human being. So you got to take advantage of that in business, in relationships, and just pull the damn trigger. So I'm happy to
I
be here.
would, yeah, that for one, I want to clip that to your point about clips, but for two, I feel like, just to push back a little, I think that's the human part, right? I think the being, well, I kind of like separate them. Like the human is more like the conscious brain, like the animalistic, like prepares you for threats. That's why you see the worst. That's why you wait for things. It's because it's threatening. But the being part is the spiritual part that sees like the endless possibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's all tied around, like, in this reality, it's kind of all tied around money. Like I had Will one time, like a year ago, he was like, hey, I can have you write down your 5 biggest goals right now. And then right after that, just let's say hypothetically, someone gives you $1 million. He said 9 times out of 10, all those goals are going to change. So whether that's, money in business, whether you're chasing a certain, relationship, a partner, whether you want like a specific car, whatever it is, it's like people desire these things. And they kind of like map out in their mind like what they think they got to do to get there, and then they make like contingency plans with themselves. Like, well, if things go bad, I'll sell this, and then But it's like you can't think like that, and it's hard not to. You got to just be like, hey, I'm gonna go full steam ahead, and what's gonna happen is what's gonna happen. And I just think that when you think that way, you end up getting further. Like for example, in roofing, right? Like you don't go up there saying, hey, well, if we don't close this person, we'll close the guy down the street. You're like, no, we're closing this guy until we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. You said a couple things. You talk about Wes Watson. He says the work instills the worth. And so when we're falling in love with the journey or falling in love with the pursuit of the destination, that is, we talk about life by design. That is creating life by design. That's building your daily habits, your daily routine, your weekend habits all around whatever type of life you want to live. As you're talking about, that pursuit of the career, that goal around money. But then I also see you taking vacations. I see you living your life, having fun. What are you doing to make all of the work worth it? How do you relax?
Right. Well, hey, mentioning Wes, he says people always ask him what he does, and he says it's what I don't do. And right. I love that. I love that because that really is what it is. And going back to your question, what are some of the things that I'm doing? It's really just about being consistent, but finding the right vehicles to be consistent in. And you can be consistent all day, man. You can shoot a podcast every day. You can, you can do anything over and over again. And I mean, human nature, you'll get better. But if you want that exponential growth, it's kind of like you got to find the right vehicle. You got to find the right thing to do it for you. So, kind of segueing into what me and Dooley have been doing, wholesale real estate, that's a business model that a lot of people would look at as one of the hardest business models because you're basically continuing to find a needle in a haystack every time. And it's been like a year.
For massive commissions.
Can you break that model down in a nutshell elevator?
Perfect. So wholesaling real estate is basically, at least the way we do it, is we're finding distressed properties, a tree fell through it, caught on fire, whatever it is, a distressed property that the seller can't put on the market. They could if they really wanted to, but in their mind, they can't because, they don't want to fix the house, get it to market condition. So they kind of end up getting stuck with it. People end up having to owe, property taxes. Let's say they inherit the property via probate, whatever it is.
You think your house is an asset until you have that yearly property tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, right? So then someone like me and Dooley, or, our company Centurion Offers, we got that after, the highest level Amex card. Centurion card. So our company Centurion Offers, we'll come in and we'll say, hey, the thing burnt to the ground, the tree fell through it, whatever it is, we're going to buy it at this price. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go take that property that we have under contract now, and we're going to blast it out to our buying network of, fix and flippers, investors. It's never, I think one time in like the 15 deals we've done, I think one time we sold it to someone who was actually going to fix it and live in it with their family. But it's, it's never really like that. So you're dealing with cash buyers, people that move quick, not conventional loans, underwriting, the bank, this crap, that crap, realtor fees, none of that. It's just we're buying the property in cash, our buyer's buying it from us in cash, and then we just go to the closing attorney and we make things happen. So people like to call it flipping the contract, but I don't call it that because when people are quote unquote flipping the contract, they're doing something called an assignment fee.
Right.
And the problem with an assignment fee is the seller is going to see that on their HUD statement. And, if you're making 20, 40, 30K, they're gonna be like, what the hell is this? What's this fee for $30,000? You know, if you're making $5,000-6,000, I mean, they might still be like, hey, what's this $6,000? But in our case, our average deal has been like 35K, 30K. So it's like, you know, that's an issue. So we don't sell the contract. What we do is something called double closing, where we basically pay for 2 closings. So on the tax record, we've bought every single property. It just so happens that that day we immediately sold it. But we do something called a double close, where we get the property under contract, we buy it, we legally own it for like an hour. And, you know, that person could have like an aneurysm or something in the middle of signing, and then we're kind of screwed, but we'll always find a buyer. But basically, we own the property for like an hour, and then we immediately sell it. And then sometimes, you know, the buyer won't allow you to use their money to pay the seller. That's called pass-through funding. So you got to use a transactional lender. That's something a lot of people don't know. But basically, whether it's pass-through funding, transactional lending, whatever it is, you get the deal done, and then you make the difference. So if I buy a property, one of our last deals, right? It was a burnt down property. So the best part about fire damaged properties is these people have already gotten paid by insurance. So they're up, they're compensated. So anything that they sell the property for is extra, because like it's considered like an investment property now, because they, you know, 9 times out of 10 went and bought another primary residence. So what ends up happening is, in that situation, we bought the property for like, I think like 65, and we sold it for like 105. And then what is that, like 35K? Or yeah, and then let's
40.
say 40, and then we pay like, you know, 5 or 6K in fees. So it turns out to be like 35K. So it's just like,
Wow.
that would be our spread. So that's kind of wholesaling, is you're getting in these niche situations, and we're basically professional problem solvers. So the reason why that's so much different than like Airbnb arbitrage is, like, Airbnb arbitrage is me coming in and getting you to see the value and renting your property to me as a company.
Right.
So it's a different type of thing. It's a long-term play. I mean, man, I'm sitting here right now. I got people inside the same properties that they were in 2 years ago when I was here. So it's like, that's the type of thing you set up, and it just keeps paying you. You just keep managing it. But then wholesaling, you got to keep working. And so a lot of people ask me, they say that this wholesaling costs money. It doesn't cost money. The actual action doesn't cost money. But to market and constantly find new deals, it costs money. So we have like two cold callers. We got another VA that just handles like our text messages. So we're sending text messages, cold calling. And so that's where the money's being spent, is marketing. So that's a little overview on wholesaling.
One of the things you mentioned in your last podcast with the real estate Airbnb arbitrage was that a lot of times these landlords, you'll find a landlord and you'll come to them with the proposition that you're going to have a cleaner in once or twice a week. You're going to be constantly doing repairs.
Less appliances get used. So over the course of a year, if you have a renter, you're going to have all kinds of cleaning fees, all kinds of fixing up that you have to do, maybe a new coat of paint. When you're using these for your Airbnb properties, they're constantly getting work done, and you're going to leave it in better condition than you found it. That stuck with me for the last year and a half. It's a good value proposition to these cats, and you're always on time with your rent. How many properties have you been able to acquire, and where are you at with the webinars?
Yeah, so just to highlight on one thing before I get to that, right? It actually got even easier. So back then it was like you're pitching all this stuff. But during the pandemic, we had like about 2.5 years where they had that moratorium in place, where people didn't have to pay rent and they weren't going to get evicted. And, you know, I'm glad they did that. Some people really needed that, you know, but from the perspective of a property owner, some of them didn't collect rent for 2 years.
Yeah, it's tough.
So they're more eager than ever to work with a business who's like, hey, I'm 100% transparent. I'm here to make money. The only way I can make money is by continuing to pay you your money so I can stay and make money. People like that, man. They like the transparency. They don't want you to sit there and rub their shoulder. They're like, hey, what's in it for you? So it's like, hey, we're guaranteeing your rent. We're not going anywhere. And we're looking to expand. After what we just went through the last couple of years, that's really all you got to say nowadays. So before, it was definitely way more, the place is going to be cleaned, you know, the foot traffic is going to be less, the type of people coming in are screened. But now it's like, hey, we're guaranteeing rent. And they're like, you're guaranteeing rent? Get on in here. But
really? Wow.
With the owners. With the property managers, it's very black and white. It's yes or no. Hey, does our company work with businesses? Do we not?
Yeah, is this in the corporate bylaws? Right?
Yeah. So then, so going back to Airbnb, I think when I was on here, I had 3 in Atlanta, but they recently passed a permit thing that's for the city of Atlanta itself. So it's not Fulton County, it's not Georgia, it's the city of Atlanta. And basically what's going on is, the hotels are pissed, they're probably,
of course.
Yeah, they're lobbying, underground, all that stuff. And so they had passed like a permit that you could only have 2 in the city lines. I got the permit, but I also signed the petition with the Short-Term Rental Alliance that's suing the city of Atlanta. And to be honest, I think we might have won because I haven't gotten any emails. Because, bro, they sent the email March 23rd of like 2022. And then they pushed it back to like April. And then they pushed it back to July. And then pushed it back to September. And then December. And then they pushed it back to next March. And so it's just they've just kept pushing it back. I went ahead and got it. I posted my permit on Instagram. I just went and got it. But what I had to do was I had to let go of my least performing one in Atlanta. So now I'm personally expanding outside of Georgia. So I'm targeting Dallas and a part of Florida that I won't leak on here.
What about Metro Atlanta? Is there opportunity?
I mean, dude, I have a student in Gwinnett by Mall, Georgia, Beaufort area. He's doing more than one of my units in Atlanta. So don't let the city perspective fool you. It fooled me when I first started.
That is something you mentioned in the last podcast as well.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to be in what you think is the hot spot.
Yeah.
But how do you determine other hot spots?
Yeah. So what I tell everybody is it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the numbers say. So people have this idea like, oh, when I was in high school, everybody used to love to go to this side of town, to go to this place. No one gives a fuck about that. Yeah. Or there's a mall over, who cares? What do the numbers say? And then when you look at the numbers, it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, what? That area is doing this much? And then it's like, great. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to get in there, find a better way to spin it. So if everybody in this zip code, and we use different tools to, target the area, then target the zip code, then run numbers on the actual address. But basically, once you determine that, okay, hypothetical numbers, everybody in this zip code, 30303, whatever, Atlanta, right? Everybody in this zip code is doing 5,000 a month. All hypothetical numbers. If we have 20, 30 Airbnbs doing 5,000 a month, right? And I'm able to study the property layout with their 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, the way they're set up, this one's a theme property, this one has a pool, whatever it is. These properties are doing 5,000 a month. If I have an identical property that I have an opportunity to get, if we're coming in from a conservative perspective, then there's no reason I can't do 4,000 a month. Now, we always shoot to be better. I want to get in there and do 6,000. I'm the best ever. You want to tell yourself these things. But in business, in real estate, what I tell everyone is you want to be more surprised if there's money left over, but you never want to be surprised if there's money. I always fuck this shit up. You never want to be surprised. What is it? Oh, yeah, I'm fucking on my own quote. Oh, yeah, you always want to be surprised if there's more money left over, but you never want to be surprised if there's less money left over. So it's like people always want to shoot for the higher numbers to make themselves feel better. Well, if I can get in there and make 6,000, then I can, but you don't want to think like that. You're like, well, if everyone's doing 5, if I can just do 4, is this profitable? And then you run your numbers. If it's profitable, you get in there. And a lot of times you end up doing 5, 6, whatever it is.
You're planning for the worst. You're hoping for the best. You got to plan around it.
That's right.
Definitely. So if you're doing a mass market, analysis, you want to use Mashvisor and basically Mashvisor. Once you start niching down to zip codes, you want to use AirDNA. That's a good one. And then once you really get down, and this is all the game right here. So you want to go, it's like a funnel. You want to go Mashvisor to find your area. Then you want to go AirDNA to run the numbers on the zip code. And then after that, you want to use something called bnbcalc.com. They pull their numbers from AirDNA. And that's where you're going to go in there and type in your exact address. You're going to type in your exact lease information, how much you spend on furniture, what's your application fee, everything. And then that'll give you your exact projection. And then what you're going to do many times in the funnel is you're going to cross-reference that data with what you're seeing live on Airbnb. So you're basically starting off, you could take me to any market, even if it's not Atlanta, right? And I'm going to study the whole market, see where the pockets are. Then I'm going to study the zip codes in those pockets. Then I'm going to compare that to the rental rates that they're charging in those zip codes, see what the profit margins are looking like. Then I'm going to reach out, and you always send an email first. You don't just call places. You send an email explaining your business model And basically, you only get on the phone with the people that reply back to the email. So it's not a cold call, it's a warm call. Because we send an email, you said, let's get on the phone. We're on the phone now. So after you do that, and you've identified the zip codes, you've reached out, you've locked up a couple opportunities, then you run the numbers on those specific opportunities. Because we could sit here all day and say, man, if I could get a property over there, we'd make this much money. But you don't have one. So why are you wasting your time? You only want to run numbers on the properties that you've gotten approvals for. So then once you get those approvals, you got to go double check. So, okay, we got an approval on 123 Main Street. We're going to take that and plug it into B&B Calc along with, our lease terms, how much we're paying. And we're going to see our actual projections and compare that to what we're seeing live on Airbnb.
So flesh that out a little bit.
Yeah.
You drop off. We're going to go to Austin, Texas right now. We're going to fly out. We're going to move there. You look at where do you start to find the property? Did you say B&B Mash? Or
Mashvisor.
Mashvisor. What is Mashvisor?
Mashvisor is a website that basically, what it's going to allow me to do is kind of look at all of Austin and see where the pockets are. Look at the difference between traditional rentals versus the short-term rental rentals versus cash-on-cash return versus occupancy, but from an overview perspective, right? So then I don't know Austin too well, but let's just say, southeast or northeast of Austin is hitting. I'm like, west side.
What does hitting mean?
That's where everybody is.
I know, but is that 67% occupancy? What are the metrics you're looking at?
Well, yeah, that's when we get to the next step.
Okay.
So Mashvisor is just hey, where's everybody at?
So it's population of regions?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you looked at an overview of Atlanta, you're going to see everyone's in Midtown, Grant Park, Buckhead, Truist Park. People aren't really, on the Georgia Tech side. They're not really, what is that, Southwest area.
You've been to West Midtown lately, brother. West Midtown's popping.
West Midtown is popping, but
Mashvisor doesn't think so?
Not Mashvisor. I'm just saying, I haven't seen a plethora of Airbnbs. So I don't know if that's...
Sure.
Airbnb specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's tech.
I don't see a plethora of houses in West Midtown. It's mostly...
But the condos, that's a main piece of it, right?
But that might be it. That literally might just be it. That might be a great area, but there's not opportunities.
Right.
Whatever it is, we're going to identify that on Mashvisor. Okay, everybody's here and here. So now let's go study these specific areas, right? So what are the zip codes? So we're going to go study the exact zip codes. We're going to look at what is the average daily rate? What's the occupancy rate? What's the seasonality? How much is it fluctuating in these areas? And basically, we're going to be able to also see the market grade, which is kind of, has nothing to do with Airbnb, kind of more from a real estate perspective, but it gives you a good idea. What is the market grade? I recommend staying between an A and a B. So it doesn't really matter, B minus, A plus, A and a B. And then once you identify the zip codes and, you're looking at the numbers and you're able to run a projection of how much these areas are making, you want to look at the properties in that area and how much they're charging for rent. And then look at what your margins are looking like. And then you reach out to those properties. Now, once you get an approval from those properties, that's where you take that address, a specific address, and you put it into bnbcalc.com. And that's the website that's going to take the specific address plus your specific lease terms, and it's going to, spit out your projection.
And I'm curious too, we're talking about what you think doesn't really matter, what the numbers say. What do the numbers say? I gotta wonder if being within 15 minutes of the airport would not be a significant bonus, or also close to Truist Park. Do you have any insight from any industry insight on that?
Definitely. There is definitely going to be broad trends, but it's more so of that's Atlanta. But then you get to other cities like Asheville, or you go to Nashville, or you go to Dallas, or you go to a couple places in Florida that I'm kind of expanding in right now. And you realize there's not really any main attractions. There's not
even here.
Yeah.
This isn't a travel to state.
Yeah. So because of that, it's where's everyone going? We live here, so we know, okay, everybody's going to be by Truist Park. They're going to be West Midtown. They're going to be here and here. But from an investor who doesn't know the area, you wouldn't really know until you looked on the map. And then you're like, damn, how come all the Airbnbs in this area are charging above $250 a night? What's going on here? Why is an Airbnb that looks worse than this Airbnb on the other side of town charging double? It's okay, there's some action going on here. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about themed Airbnbs?
I mean, it definitely helps. There's something called a scroll stopper. So you want to have your main photo when someone's scrolling, they're like, oh shit, what's that? So that could help. Like if you have some like exotic theme or
Like the Blockbuster one.
yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, man, what I found is you get a lot of business travelers. You get a lot of people just getting away for the weekend. And it's really more about the convenience and the time. Like I've rarely had someone be like, I booked your Airbnb because it looked like this. It's more so, hey, I'm coming to this area at this time and your price is good. So
Right.
I feel like people overcomplicate things, Like all these things hypothetically sound like metrics that matter, but they really don't. Like what matters is having a location, setting it up correctly, and just putting it out there. So a lot of people, they overcomplicate the process and they never get there. They never get to the part where they sign a damn lease and they go live. So
What does setting it up correctly mean?
I mean, just
Is that the listing, like the actual? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely want to like optimize like SEO type of things, make sure you rank higher.
Mhm.
But I just think that I feel like we live in a world, man, where people overcomplicate everything. And I know this is kind of backwards coming from someone who sells an education program. But like, as you guys can see, man, I put all the information out there. If you study my Instagram, you'll get everything you need to go live on Airbnb. The problem is that's not enough for some people. Some people are like, hey man, I want you to hold my hand step by step along the way. I want your calling script. I want your email script.
I want it all in order. I don't want to have to scroll your Instagram for a month. Let's have it curated.
Or I just want you to do it for me. Give me everything.
Yeah. And then there's the people that go figure it out on their own. But I think our society has moved away from that style of marketing where it's like, well, the secrets, if you just buy this and unlock the next 7 steps to no one's into that anymore. If anything, it's kind of what I'm doing right now. You want to overwhelm people with so much information that they're like, okay, and then I go to Match5, and then I go to B&B, and then I go to, and they're like, holy shit, like this guy just gave us all the game that, that's the reason we want to buy a product. It's like if this was free, imagine what we're going to get when we pay versus when people are like, well, Airbnb changed my life and that first property. And it's like, yo, get to it. Like people are telling too many stories and it's a good thing for marketing and we can segue into webinars, but it's like what I found is, people want it or they don't. And you got to just get to the point. And it's almost like people care about what you're doing to the extent that they know you're validated to teach. Like, yo, your roofing company's done this amount of numbers. But, to break down the specifics, they don't really care. Like we live in a world, man, where no one cares about anybody. They care about what can you do for me? And when you understand that and you kind of like remove your emotion from that, you're like, hey, that's fine. I'm a person out here. I'm a purveyor of knowledge. I'm just trying to provide value. But people kind of get too caught up in like the branding and they take a lot of stuff personal. Like me and Dooley right now, I posted this video of, just a year recap of like our business. And it's blowing up right now. It's actually going viral.
For real estate.
This for wholesaling.
Yeah.
And it's going viral. And it's got like almost like 200K views and like
Hey,
Let's
let's
go.
go.
like hundreds of comments and shit. And like, dude, 70% of the people commenting are just fucking hating. And it's crazy because the stuff that they're saying, they could literally go click on a highlight reel and be updated on the whole journey and be like, oh, I was wrong. But me and Dooley have just been laughing so hard looking at it because
Keep getting you those views, dog.
exactly. It's the engagement and it just kind of gives you a perspective into the way the world works, right? Going back into Wes Watson, everybody that's commented some hating shit is literally between the age of 20 and 30. They're dudes, right? We haven't had a single chick comment something negative. We haven't had an older person, a younger person. It's all guys that look exactly like us and probably talk exactly like us. And what happens is like a hater is somebody that sees a version of themselves in you and believes that they can't attain that version. So now they have to hate. They're seeing something in you that reminds them of themselves. And then they get upset that they're not that person. They're like, damn, I wanted to start a roofing company, but I didn't. And he's killing it. Well, if he's killing it and I'm not killing it, then there's something fucking wrong with it. And it's like they go down this mindset of like, and when people understand that, you almost kind of feel bad. Like if you think someone's actually hating on you, you're kind of missing the point. That they're kind of hating on themselves through you. They're seeing a version of themselves that they don't think they can achieve. So because they don't think they can achieve it, you're doing something wrong. You're cheating. You're selling a course. This isn't real. None of those, we didn't close any deals. They're all fake. We like some people, man, like you just can't help some people. Like some people were like, this guy made all his money from his wholesaling course. I don't have the wholesaling course. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I love it. because it's like, maybe I need to add a wholesaling course. So it's like when you're just purely trying to grow and get to the next level, you look at every piece of feedback for what it is. And that's what I think anyone listening to this should take out of this. Is like, hey, whether it's positive or negative, it's all feedback, man. It's rapport. It's the ability to analyze yourself through the eyes of someone else and maybe get better. So,
dude, that is gangster that you take all that feedback and look back and your response is, maybe I should make a wholesaling course. That's awesome, dude.
Would anybody buy it?
Shopping this around.
Here's the thing. Dooley actually just dropped a new wholesaling course. So if you guys want Dooley's wholesaling course, hit me up.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have a course, but my business partner over here.
Yes.
Let me put you on some gang. No, you said, look, it's not just their confrontation with their own failure or inadequacy, but also the fact that there may be an unwillingness or even an inability to go get that intrinsically. Those are deep words, my friend. What when you're getting all these hating comments, is there a piece of you that also realizes this is how videos blow up? Can you look past the bad ones and extract that 30%?
Yeah, well, first thing I want to say, man, is there's a lot of people that go on podcasts and they try to seem like above like the moment. I'm saying that, and the reason I know what I just said about the video, and a lot of people won't admit this, is I used to be that person. When I was 17, 18, 19, no way. They're doing something that isn't being shown. And they know some guy, or they're selling a course. It's hard to believe that people are kicking ass until you see it in real life and you swallow your ego and you say, hey, I want to get like this. So let me just shut the hell up and learn. So I used to be that person. So because I used to be that person when I was younger in high school, thought I knew it all, I'm able to look at some of these people now and say, I know where they're at. And like you said, do you understand that, hey, this is kind of a result of going viral? I love it, because if you understand the algorithm, it means you're being suggested to new audiences. Right. So, I mean, the video has like 6,000 likes. I've gotten like fucking almost 1,000 followers from that one video.
Hey.
So I mean, a couple hundred negative comments kind of makes me happy. I mean, I'm telling you, for the last 4 days has just been me and Dooley texting back and forth, just screenshots of us getting cooked. And it's like, gets better and better.
What if you got like your gang of boys to all get in and just start saying the most ridiculous things on your comments, just talking trash, stir the pot a little bit. That's how you make a video viral.
I love it, man.
That's awesome. Well, let's segue into webinars. Let's really dive into that. So last time you came on here, you were doing the short-term rental, Airbnb arbitrage. Those are the same things and how you're using them. Then we talked about the wholesaling thing, which started after the last podcast, right?
Yeah, it started.
Because I think our last pod was 2 years ago, and that started, you said, a year ago?
Yeah, April 2020.
Yeah. So now you've got a third hustle, which is more complementary to those than it is a partition self thing. So what's that about, and how does it feed into the other ones?
Yeah, so I was doing the webinar when we first talked.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's right. You did. You had a couple hundred students, right?
I had like 28.
Oh, really?
Couple dozen.
Yeah.
Couple dozen. Wow.
Couple dozen.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy life. But the webinar, man, is like, okay, so in the world of selling anything, you can't be an in-person interaction, a seminar. You just can't. You can't to look someone, Jonathan, how you doing? Let's do this. Boom. You can't beat that. But we live in a world where, I can only shake so many hands. I can only close so many. So the next best thing from a seminar is a webinar. Why? Because we can reach, hypothetically, an unlimited amount of people. So all it is a presentation.
No overhead cost either.
Oh, there's overhead.
Well, not the same as putting on an in-person seminar.
Compared to seminars, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's really just the ability to reach more people. But it's the same thing, man. You're doing a presentation, and there's a lot of psychology involved. Like even I was talking about this on the last podcast. Like, once again, man, people are still in this mindset when they hop on these webinars or whatever it is, where they're talking about everything they've done. They share a little bit, but they're like, that's step 1 through 3 to unlock the 7 secrets, buy the program, to get the rest of the formula, to get the websites, I'm not like that at all, man. I go on there and I'm like, hey, look, I go on there and I'm like, look, all right, how many of you guys have been on a training just like this one? A free workshop, live workshop, whatever it is.
Is this like an Instagram live?
No, this is on a platform.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've registered, they showed up, we go live. I'm like, look, how many of you guys have been on one of these trainings where you have someone get up in front of you pretending to teach you something, but really they were just trying to sell you something? If you've experienced that dilemma, drop a yes in the chat right now. People are in the chat. I have every time. Oh my God, me too, wasting my time. So I'm like, great. I'm happy to let you know from right now, before we even start the first slide of the presentation, that that's not what we're here to do tonight. Now, full disclaimer, I have an offer for you. I'm going to make you a very special offer at the end of tonight. But between now and then, I'm going to teach you so much stuff. In fact, I'm going to teach you more tonight for free than people teach in their $3,000 to $5,000 Airbnb courses. And at the end of tonight, the reason you buy, if you buy, is because you don't want to stop learning from me. So at the end of tonight, if you have to ask me, Charbel, should I buy? I'm going to say you probably shouldn't. And the ones that are ready will know they're ready. I got that from another guy named Myron Golden, who is a killer in the space. And let's just break down that entire intro right there, right?
Yeah.
What I just did there was I went ahead and made the offer, right? So a lot of people try to get someone on a webinar, teach them a bunch of stuff, and then boom, they sneak an offer in and whatever it is. I'm not doing that. People know what's up. People have been on free trainings, like I said from the beginning, people want to know what's in it for you. Why are you doing this? Like, people respect that. So it's like, hey, how many of you guys have had your time wasted on one of these? Okay, me. Great. I'm not here to do that. I do have an offer for you. And the only reason I want you to buy the offer is if you want to keep learning from me. But before the offer, I promise you, I'm going to teach you so much stuff that there's a good chance you're going to want to buy the offer. And then what do? You got to deliver. You got to blow their mind. If you don't blow their mind, you took an L. So I go on there, bro, and I walk these people step by step into how to get all this done, how to find the property, how to run the numbers, how to get these cards so that you don't have to come out of pocket for funding, exactly what to say when you're on the call, exactly why we're saying what we're saying when we're on the call, why we're sending the email first, why we're having a landing page attached to the email to, validate our, like there's so many things that I show. And it's exactly, what I said earlier, you overwhelm them with a bunch of gas that they're like, damn, dude, like I just learned too much. Like I learned so much that I'm more confused than when I didn't know anything. Now I want to buy a product.
So that was going to be the follow-up. You blow their minds on the first one. It's almost like pulling a magic trick. You're setting up a trial close in the beginning. You're telling them, you're putting all your cards on the table, and then you inundate them with information in order to promote, to change their life, but also in order to promote that offer at the end. What are you doing if they sign up? They took your free class, now they signed up, they're gonna pay you $500, $1,000, whatever it is. How much do you charge?
$1,000.
$1,000. They're gonna pay you $1,000. You've already delivered a lot of value, but maybe it was too much for them to handle. When they pay you that $1,000, how do you come in with the follow-up so they feel like they got their money's worth?
Yeah, so basically, and just to close out that last section, that's how I do my webinars. So everyone's different. So there's people that don't do any of that, and they've made more money than me. So I'm willing to admit maybe I'm wrong.
Don't do any of what?
Any of like they structure their presentation differently.
Oh, got you.
Maybe they do have 7 tricks.
Yeah. Okay, got you.
And they've done crazy numbers. So what I've told everybody is you got to find your own style. Like when I started doing webinars, I wanted to specifically copy Will. Exactly what he was saying, how he was closing, how he was opening these subjects, and it didn't work. And then when I just started being me, it started going great. And then I've had other people try to copy me and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. And then they just start doing them and then it works. So you got to find your own style that fits your teaching style, the level of your brand. You got to be aware of these things.
Put some sauce on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't sit here and be like, yo, I have the biggest brand on earth. Why aren't people buying my stuff? You got to say, hey, I'm starting off. I might need to give more than the other guy because he's got a bigger brand. He's been on more podcasts. He's, whatever. So people are just, they're not really self-aware. You gotta be able to look at your own product, your own brand and say, hey, I might be ass and I need to get better. So, but
that is something. You were giving us some love in the beginning, man. You are radically, authentically you. Mm-hmm. Like you come in here and I don't think he's trying to be this guy. He's trying to be that guy. No, you're trying to be the best version of you. And that you communicate that through your body language. You speak really well. Like your words, they're coming out fast. They're coming out clear. You're on your game. And
100%.
Thank you.
Only up from here.
Thank you, man. It really means a lot. And to answer your question, so they buy the product, right? And so now they're in the program. So they're in there, man. They got freaking 100 sections, all the modules, the calling scripts, the email scripts. They got the group chat with all the students. They get an onboarding call with our team. We develop a little plan for them, their area, their market, and they got everything they need. Everything laid out step by step. And that's another thing you learn from webinars, selling, whatever it is, sales psychology, is you never want to sell the pieces. Like I can't be like, dude, my program has 64 modules and every 20-minute video here in an hour. No one wants to hear any of that. People, when you're selling anything, you're selling the desired outcome.
Yeah.
If you follow this blueprint, you will receive this result.
Selling the dream, selling the lifestyle, selling the outcome. Absolutely.
That you can actually get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's how your life will be different after you purchase this product.
Exactly, man. And for anyone listening that wants to really study sales psychology, I recommend a guy named Jeremy Miner.
Jeremy Lee Miner.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7th level. Is that his?
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
It's cool.
Super underrated guy. He talks about the pause. Oh man, the pause is crazy. Like people underestimate like things like body language or whatnot. Like even something like this, like not even selling the phone. Like if me and you were on the phone, right? And I'm like, Jonathan, why don't you want to sell your property or whatever it is, or I don't know, throw a situation out there. We're not agreeing on a price, or you want 100, I want 150, or whatever it is. You know, instead of being like, Jonathan, all we're going to be able to do is 150 today. Jeremy teaches you, well, Jonathan, based on what we're seeing, we might only be able to possibly do 150.
You do sound just like him.
You see how that's a complete...
He does do that.
You see how that's a completely, totally different pitch?
Yeah.
So he teaches a lot of those kind of things, the pause, really kind of steering
What
conversation.
does the pause do psychologically? Just builds up anticipation?
Yeah, man.
or-
I started
people
sitting up.
in.
Dude, I started sitting up in my seat. Yeah, it makes you antsy. Like, can this guy spit it out? Is my house rotting? And another thing he talks about...
What's this book called? The seventh what?
Well, his company's called 7th Level Sales or 7th Level Mastery. His name's Jeremy Lee Miner, and I see his videos a lot too.
Okay.
And one of the things that he brings up a lot is that the quality of your questions will determine the size of your paycheck. So the better questions that you're asking, whether that's in the discovery process or at the close, one of his questions is, hey, what are the consequences of not getting this deal done today?
Right.
Is it true to say that you've never been an action taker and that if you don't take action today, there are going to be serious consequences? Let's change the narrative. Let's flip the script and turn you into somebody that does take decisive action right now. And here's how your life and your friends' lives and your family's life are going to benefit for it.
Interesting.
But he's drawing that out of you rather than just telling them that. That would be the desired feeling from the questions.
I like that.
He teaches a lot from like, what's the thing called? It's called like neuro-linguistic programming. What is that? NLP?
Yeah, NLP, yeah.
Yeah, he has his product is called like NLPQH or something. But one thing that he teaches that I love, I use this one all the time. Like ask me why you should buy my course. Ask me, right? And I'll tell you that this response is going to be the normal person, right?
Yeah, what's in it for me? Why would I want to buy this?
Bro, oh, man, our course, best course in the world. Bro, we have 25 plus 6-figure students. Dude, with our course, in 2 weeks, people always are like, they're trying to self-qualify. This is what Jeremy teaches you, right? Ask me the same question again.
What's in it for me? Why do I want it?
No, ask me why you should buy our product.
Why should I buy your product?
To be honest, man, I don't know if you should. In fact, before I can determine if you should buy our product or if we can even help you, I got to ask you a series of questions to determine that we can even help you achieve your desired outcome. And to be honest, man, even when we get there, our product still might not be right for you. So let's push the product aside right now. And first of all, just tell me, man, what are you trying to achieve from the program? And so he just kind of like redirects, like, why should I buy your product? Maybe you shouldn't. And it's like shocks a person. It's like, wait, what the hell? And people are so used to someone trying to make the sale. Like, why should I use your company for our roof? To be honest, maybe you shouldn't. If you give us 5 minutes to just go up, do a quick inspection, we might come down and tell you you have the best roof we ever saw. And you don't need us. People aren't used to that, man.
It goes from you having to qualify yourself to them, from them being like, wait, I feel like I need to qualify myself to you.
Yeah, and that also works on the webinar. Like another thing Jeremy talks about is that whether you realize it or not, sales is also like kind of incorporating status. So the way that you talk on the phone, yo, please, do you have a quick second? Do you think you could please look at that offer? You just took yourself down on the rank, you know? Things like that. Oh man, I apologize. We were running late. You know, just certain statements and phrases just degrade your status.
Right.
If you're running late, instead of
you do that to yourself all the time. That's the key, right? Like you will degrade yourself subconsciously without thinking of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even the time one, you know, like, man, I'm so sorry I was late for the podcast. Hey, I appreciate you guys' patience. It's like
right. I've heard that before. Don't apologize for being late. Say thank you for being patient.
Accommodating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then even like in a sales call, like, you know, like if like we have a guy right now that we sent an offer to, and I mean, he hasn't. I mean, he said he's gonna sign it. He hasn't looked at it. But when I called him last night, I was like, yeah, man, when you get a second, could you please look at the offer? I was like, yeah, man, here's the thing. We sent the offer. It does have an expiration date. We want to move forward, start the inspection process, but I get it. Life's busy. You might not have a second. He immediately started qualifying himself. No. I want to sell the property. I'm going to take a look at it tonight. You're basically like, here's the thing, right? People go out and they get a coach. They get a mentor. And if your mentor comes in and starts telling you a bunch of stuff that makes sense, you need to go get a new coach. Because your coach should always be telling you stuff that sounds counterintuitive. You're like, Jonathan, I don't know, man. That doesn't sound like it's going to work. Trust me, it's going to work. Like, what? I'm going to tell them I have an offer at the beginning? Dude, they're not going to like that. Just do it. Like people, they hear advice and then it kind of like freaks them out. They're like, oh, no. I'll use that in some hypothetical.
That wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I want to close this deal. Please, man, look at the offer. They don't realize that like, everything in life, like people want to be like the 1%, whatever it is. I'm not a 1%er yet. I mean, I don't know if you guys are, but we're headed there. So if I want to be like the 1%, and I'm studying the 1%, how they sell, how they close deals, how they negotiate, and everything that they're doing intimidates me because I don't think that I'm at that level yet, then I'm never going to be at that level. Because I think Bob Proctor talked about this, rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
A mindset is nothing more than establishing and putting your mind on a higher level and setting it there and saying, I'm going to act and breathe and live like this person.
Bro, that's fire.
Until I become that person. That's what a mindset is. So people are like, man, I need to change my mindset, bro. That's like, no, you don't. You need to change your habits and, you know, the stuff that you're constantly doing on the daily, like you said, the way you carry yourself, whatever it is. You need to say, okay, roofing. I keep using roofing because I know you have a roofing company. Beautiful headquarters, by the way. So it's like, I want a roofing company, right? So if I want a roofing company, I'm going to study what you're doing. And then I'm going to see, based on where I'm at, how I can set myself to that level. All right, we don't have a space yet. We don't have this yet. We don't have multiple crews. But we're going to act like it. And by acting like it, we're going to get there. Versus constantly saying, well, I'm just a one-man team. And sometime in the future, we're going to have a team of 5. And we're going to have a headquarters. You got to act like that now. And something about acting like that, man. I'm not going to sit here and go law of attraction on you guys. But it starts to pull things in. Doors start opening up. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I mean, it's kind of like, it's almost like people won't believe in you or want to support you until they already see that you believe in yourself, you support yourself, and you're starting to take off. Then they're like, damn, is that Charbel over there? Dude, Charbel, man, 2 years ago, man, me and him, we're fucking like this, dude, my brother. But if that's not happening and someone's like, yo, how's Charbel doing? I don't know, fuck Charbel. I don't give a fuck about Charbel. What are you talking about? Oh, dude, you didn't hear? Charbel just this. Oh, dude, that's my guy. Dude, we were in science class. It's like people always switch up based on so it's like when you understand that, you realize, oh, okay, none of this matters. Nobody's better than me. And then law of polarity, every action has the equal and opposite reaction. So if no one's better than me, then that means I'm not better than anyone else. So if I'm not better than anyone else and no one's better than me, then if someone else has achieved the result, I can also achieve that result and vice versa. I just haven't put in the time and effort to get there. So when you start thinking like that, it becomes like an even playing field and everything just becomes about time. Hey, this guy has more skin in the game. This guy spent more time coding. This guy's, he's cold approached 1,000 women. I've talked to 2. So it's like everything's a numbers game. But like I said in the beginning, if you're not in the right vehicle, you can run up the numbers and go nowhere. You can be the regional district manager of fucking bad example, of McDonald's or whatever the hell. You can become the best person ever. and I don't know, still only crank out like 200 a year.
You can use a screwdriver to hammer a nail into, use the roof example, or into the wall. It's just the wrong tool. It's going to take longer. It's going to be harder. So you get the right tools, you get the right reps, and you start practicing with the right tools. That speed starts to accelerate.
That was a great analogy.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. It just,
the imagery tied that together.
yeah, I'm over here talking about sicko, but but like I don't know, man. Like it's overwhelming because I feel like there's too much going out nowadays. That's bullshit. Like I was listening to another podcast nowadays the other day, and this guy said something that made me feel so good in such a bad way. As he was like, "Hey, man, in 100 years, no one's gonna fucking think about you." And I was like, man, no one's going to think about me.
Everybody you know will be dead. Everybody they know will be dead. There might be a statue. Maybe.
Best case scenario.
Best case.
Yeah, maybe. There might be a statue, and then even then, someone will probably tear that down.
Yeah.
It's like when you think like that, you get so comfortable because you're like, oh my God, like, I'm playing this game on my own. I'm trying to get to the next level. I personally believe, man, that when we die, our life really starts. I think this is like a loading phase, like a lobby. Like, what kind of person are you really? So
that's interesting.
That is fun.
Yeah.
So what drives you? Different people have different motivators for success. What's part of your why? If this is all part of a game and you're on your own time, how are you intrinsically motivated?
Dude, honestly, man, I'm motivated by the fact that I grew up, quote unquote, poor. You know, I grew up, my parents were getting divorced and shit was hitting the fan. But I went to a high school and I think my mom was renting like the smallest house in the district. So I'm pulling into the high school. Motherfuckers got BMWs, lifted Jeeps and whatnot. And I'm over here like working at Quick Trip, paying $400 a month for a Toyota Corolla. It humbled me and it also like motivated me that I was like, hey, you know, these are all cool guys, cool girls, but like, let's put them aside real quick. I want to get like their parents, and then I want my kid to live this way. So I kind of like grew up to life really quick because I realized like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't get the best cards in terms of like, you know, where I started the race, but I'm happy for that. I'm so glad because I see a lot of people, man, that, you know, they work for their parents or they got put on and they're living a good life, and I wish them the best. But it's like they don't have that anxiety in them. Like, dude, I live with anxiety. Like, I'm 5 years sober, but I used to have a Xanax addiction, destroyed my life in early college. And it was because that drug fed so good into my life. Like, I'm an extremely anxious person because I'm like constantly anticipating so many things. Like I look at it like, I don't know, man. I just feel like what motivates me is the fact that I want to just take care of my family, of course, but I also want to run it up while I'm here. Like, people put all these goals on the table, and it's like they don't realize that the bigger your goal is, it's not the harder that it is to achieve it. But like, one thing you learn, you know, in sales and like, you know, teaching people, being a coach, is you got to set like micro victories. You got to let a person feel like they're winning, you know? The one goal can't be getting your Airbnb, becoming a millionaire, whatever it is. You got to set up goals along the way. Hey, I paid off whatever. Hey, I upgraded this. Hey, I saved this amount. Hey, I was able to take my girl on this vacation to this spot and eat at this restaurant. You got to have micro victories. So for me, I'm in a position now where I want to just see how far we're going to run this thing. Like, I just want to see how big it can go. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's not about the money. The money is an exchange of value. So when you're making money, it's kind of notifying you that, hey, the value that I'm perceiving I have is being perceived.
It's a scoreboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scoreboard. Yeah.
I feel that though, because for me, I'm the same way where like what drives me is that if I'm not pursuing something, then my anxiety and stress starts to kick in. Like I'm not, I don't think many, either of us are, and I don't think many people who are hustlers per se are. But like it's the not doing, like we're not chill people. And when you chill, you start to, like, if you're not building, or we used to talk about this all the time, if you're not building or creating out here, then you're doing it in here. And one of them is more sustainable than the other. And so I like your answer because it rings very true. And I think it rings very true for a lot of people. And it's that ambition. And yeah, I just wanted to say that because I felt that. It really, like, that resonated with me.
Yeah. Like, I remember, man, I remember when I first started this whole, digital marketing journey, Airbnb, whatever it is. I couldn't tell you the amount of people that unfollowed me from high school, college, and it made me happy. It made me happy because it was like, oh, thank God, like those people are out the way. Now I can focus on building my actual audience. So I think I had like 400 or 500 followers when I got started, people I knew in real life. And now we got like 12,000, nothing crazy, but it's like, those are all people that are following the journey and they want value. They want to be taught. They want to teach. And it's like when you build a community of like-minded individuals, you kind of like shelter yourself from the bullshit. Like that's what I love about having, Dooley, having Will, having our whole team is like, you get to look at each other and say, well, damn, like I'm trying to get like that. Like you guys need to have Will on. I mean, Will's been going crazy. You guys, there's so many people you guys could have on. And then there's also so many people you guys could have on that would contradict everything I've been saying. It's like there's so many groups in this world. So you can't try to be everywhere.
Yeah. We love the diversity of thought. We see a lot of similar trends, but one of the coolest things about this podcast, you see young guys, we see older guys. A lot of them, they have the ambition, they have a sick work ethic, they go out and they get it. But the way they do it, the way they lean on their network, the avenue, the vehicle they choose to run it up it's always different. And there's something unique. They put their sauce. You were talking about your flavor, you be you. They all do it their way. So that's been a crazy instructional session for us, just sitting down with some microphones and a camera.
Absolutely. Hey, as we wind this down, because we got about 1-2 minutes left, we'll give some final words. We've kind of covered the whole spectrum from the pragmatic, what you can accomplish and how to accomplish webinars, to you were dropping hermetic principles and mindset and all that and everything in between. So what are some final words you want to leave listeners and watchers with?
Man, the final words I want to leave somebody with is I want them to sit down with themselves alone. And I want them to realize that they can either, live their life like a life, or they can live their life like a game, and they can actually try to achieve things, and they can set aside the fact that, you're going to have people's opinions. You're going to have people hating on you. You're going to have people loving you. But if you play your life like a game where you're just a character, I believe you kind of shelter yourself and you get a lot further than if you really try to like live a life. Like, what are my girlfriend's parents going to think? Like, I don't give a fuck. All right. I'm trying to get to the next level. And like you guys are perfect examples, man. It's been 2 years. You guys are still at it, killing it. Like beautiful, beautiful hosts for a podcast like this. So that's my message. It's just play your life like a game. Have fun. Just be yourself. Take an L. Lose some money.
Go run some side missions.
And I got one question. But before we leave, right? This is a question I ask everybody, and it always starts an argument. So you guys can kind of answer it quick. Do you guys think that a piece of content is good because it gets views and likes? Or do you think, excuse me, do you guys think a piece of content is good because it gets views or likes? Or do you guys think because the content was good, it got views or likes? Like, what do you guys think the likes and the views make that a good piece of content? Or do you think a good piece of content is a good piece of content and that's the reason it got the engagement? Weird question, right? What do you guys think?
I think it's about intention. Like, I think there's some content that we've put out that we know won't hit, but it's like, this was some dope shit and we want to put this out. And then there's some content where maybe we bring in a videographer to make like some cool recap of an event and put in all the bells and whistles and run some ad dollars behind it because we think it'll hit. So I think it just, like, from my perspective, I'm sure he's got a different answer, is it comes down to the intention of the content. Was it something that struck a chord and we wanted to put out and doesn't care? Or was it something that we crafted with, a little bit more theatrics and the bells and whistles to look better on social or whatever?
I'm going to say the content is good in and of itself, regardless of likes or content or comments. Now, that doesn't mean, it may just mean it's not getting in front of enough people or the right people. But yeah, we use Wes Watson, comes out, immediately starts dropping bombs on YouTube, builds a killer cult following, and uses that to launch his brand. That popped off because it hit the ethos. I think he's got his niche. He was sent to preach to a very specific group of people, but a lot of people will enjoy it. Other people will hate it. So maybe it's controversy or controversial content, but I don't think the likes and the comments make it good by any means. They would be an external validation if it's good, and I don't think it's an external validation if it's not.
Okay, because I agree 100%. I think even if it gets 2 likes, it might be the best video ever. I've just been having people like tell me, well, if it was that good, it would have got these views and these likes. I'm like, you don't get the algorithm, man. Like you could post the best video on earth, and if no one sees it, it's not gonna get engagement. So glad we're all on the same page.
Yeah, for
Some
sure.
people have lost it, bro.
Yeah. Well, dude, this has been even more
This was
electric
great.
than the first one. And
This was great.
I remember that first one being a standout podcast of that year. So every time you come, you bring the heat, bro. And it's and like Clint said, it couldn't be more pure and authentic. And as the host of Hustle Up, that's something that we look for and really comes to the surface when we have people sit down. Like when you sit down, the questions we ask are dictated off the answers that you give. And so if we feel that you may or may not know what you're talking about, we'll dig in deep. But when someone can come on,
I might flesh it out. Yeah,
yeah, right, exactly,
This
right.
dude's a fraud.
Yeah. Can't air that one.
Yeah.
But when you have someone come in and break it down the way you did, like I said, from the most pragmatic to the most ethereal, like it's just special. So thank you again for coming, especially on such short notice. We'll definitely be doing a third one. I know you want to come back in with Dooley.
Yes.
We would love for you to come back on. We'd love to have Dooley on. We had Dooley on that same season 3. So, man, welcome. Thanks for being one of our first for season 4.
Let's go.
You guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for viewing. Get ready for this season because we're coming back. We're coming back heavy. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Clint.
I'm Charbel. Season 4 is going top of the charts.
Yes, Erskine. Until next time, hustle up.
Hustle up.
Hustle out. Wow.